Tim, you're describing this as a roadblock, not a roadmap. Why is that?
Well, good morning, Gabriella. This is soul destroying for so many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Victorians who wanted some hope yesterday, and all they got from the Premier of Victoria was more despair. We're going to be locked down in this state for another 5 weeks. Hard lockdown, curfews. The curfew in Sydney is long gone. It's being inflicted on us down here for another 5 weeks. Seriously, the fact that hospitality doesn't really go back until the 5th of November. That's just soul destroying for so many businesses. It's just wrong. Essentially what's going on here is that Daniel Andrews is deviating from the national plan. At 70% double vax in Victoria, we will still have very onerous restrictions, unlike in New South Wales, where at 70%, Gladys Berejiklian and her government have a plan to reopen New South Wales and, for example, have patrons back in hospitality venues.
On the plan to get 70% of people who have been fully vaccinated will be when, in New South Wales, we'll be able to reopen pubs, cafes, retail stores. In Victoria, that state, they'll only be able to open for outdoor settings. So how many businesses is this going to impact there?
Oh, thousands and thousands. And it will render so many high streets, so many suburban shopping areas, so many suburban cafes, pubs, restaurants. Frankly, there will be many that won't open. There will be many that will go to the wall. There will be many who just say, this has gone on for too long and I just can't cope with this any longer. But it's not just about profit. It's not just about the dollars. It's about people's mental health. Getting people back to work, as much as it's good for the economy, is also very important for recovering from this mental health crisis that's been inflicted upon us, because Victoria, Melbourne has had this week we'll have the world's longest lockdown, 237 days of hard lockdown. That's more than any other city in the world, and we have no hope here. So my plea to Daniel Andrews is, could he please reconsider some of the more onerous aspects of his lockdown and consider it's not just about profit, it's not just about employers and employees, it's about getting people back to work for their mental health.
What about the Victorians that are stranded in New South Wales? Would your government be open to letting Victorians back who are in New South Wales back into the state and opening up that border once we hit the 70% double dose target?
They should be back now. They should be back now and quarantining at home. This is just ridiculous that we've got Victorians locked out of their own state, and today is the highest number of COVID cases this year. In fact, I think it's the second highest number of COVID cases. Well, I think it's certainly the highest number of COVID cases this year, and very close to our second wave peak last year. So there's a lot of COVID in the community in New South Wales, equally in Victoria. So why are we locking these people out? It makes no sense at all.
I suppose, seeing as we do have high cases in Victoria and they're expected to get even higher, this slow, cautious roadmap has been set out to stop more hospitalisations. Can you see that point of view?
Yes, of course I can. And that's why the Andrews government should have been preparing for the inevitability of us reopening and seeing an upsurge in cases. They've had 18 months to plan for that eventuality. Last April, they promised 4,000 ICU beds. They haven't delivered anywhere near that. In fact, they've only delivered 500 of them. So they haven't prepared a hospital system for the upsurge in cases that is inevitable when you open up. They haven't built that capacity into our hospital network. That's just scandalous. That is almost criminal that they haven't inbuilt that capacity in our hospital system. Gladys Berejiklian seems to be quite confident about New South Wales hospitals' ability to deal with the upsurge in cases when they reopen. Why not in Victoria? So again, Daniel Andrews has failed in his job and is punishing the Victorian people because of his government's failure to plan.
There is a return date, I should say, for children to get back to school, and it's before New South Wales students can get back to school. In Victoria, they can start returning from October 6th. Do you welcome that?
Absolutely. We've been calling for Year 11 and 12 students to be back in the classroom, and that's one positive to come out of yesterday's announcement that Year 11 and 12s will be back in the classroom on the first day of Term 4. That's a good start, but the vast majority of Victorian students won't be back until very much the end of October. So again, there's another 6, 7, 8 weeks of homeschooling for some parents. That's going to be devastating.
We have to leave it there. Tim Smith, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Gabriella.